Well, once again, thank you for the warm introduction there, Ayushi, and to everyone on the call. Thank you for taking the time out. I know it's busy Saturday mornings for most of you. So happy International Women's Day. It's always a good opportunity to sort of self-reflect, as also just reflect as a community. So I think I'm looking forward to today's discussion. Of course, the topic today is how do we drive future of procurement and supply chain through empowering women. But from an International Women's Day perspective, the theme from an international perspective is accelerate action. So today I really want to focus on what is the landscape today, and then what can we do as individuals as well as our communities to accelerate action and drive our impact into the supply chain industries. So before we begin, maybe just a sanity check on what is the current landscape. I'm sure all of you look at different surveys and read different notes, and I wanted to just highlight, I think, what is probably the one that is the one that most individuals look at, which is the Gartner's annual survey that they do. And this is a survey that was done in 2023. And as you can see, obviously, from a woman in the supply chain workforce, regardless of where they are in their career, you can see there's been an uptake. In certain scenarios, it's been a little bit of a slower uptake versus if you look at perhaps the red line on the bottom, which represents the executives and C-suite, there has definitely been a huge emphasis, which has paid off. And you can see it's been quite the jump to about 26% of the workforce that is in those executive roles. So I think we should take a moment to look at that as both in terms of achievements, but also as an opportunity for those of us that are in those roles. What can we do to mentor, to inspire those that are trying to get there as well? So I think it helps in both aspects there. The one thing you'll notice here is that while certain things here are definitely have a momentum, there's other aspects of this, like the frontline representation, which are the frontline managers. While there has been an increase in workforce there as well, the representation momentum has definitely been a little bit slower paced than what you would expect to see. And I think that's the one that we should watch out for, because it's those individuals that are in their beginning of their career or their first managerial role. We call it the EVP litmus test. Basically, those individuals, are they going to actually get out of supply chain, or are they actually going to continue and then move into executive roles? So I think if we can help motivate individuals earlier in their career as well, that line should also go up. And I think that will be helping to contribute to even more exposure and more individuals in the workforce. So with that being the current landscape, sorry, working off of two laptops there. I also wanted to just point out that while that's the survey for 2023, 2024, the momentum has definitely slowed down a little bit. And I think it's important to recognize the reasons why, so that we know what are the actions we can take. If I were to narrow it down into three main categories, one is that there has been so much emphasis over the last few years and discussions around how do we get more individuals, more females specifically, in the supply chain workforce, that we've got more individuals in the workforce, but now there seems to be a little bit more of lack of formality in terms of the goals and the accountabilities. So while you have them in the workforce, how do we make sure that they have the right career development or professional guidance that they need to actually aspire and go up the ladder? The second one is just in terms of supply chain leadership engagement. So those individuals that have able to make it to the executive leadership spot, we want to make sure that the sponsorship remains from those individuals. So there's key initiatives, whether it's from a hiring practice or whether it's transformation initiatives happening at a particular organization. We want to make sure that the females at the executive level continue to sponsor such initiatives and bring in other fresh perspectives of females into those engagements and drive that engagement. So I think it's important that we don't sort of take a backseat and just focus on ourselves, but that broader scope that I think will help drive that momentum. The third one is we're in the workforce, but we also want to recognize the fact that now it's probably that opportunity where there is enough data to compare the supply chain workforce of females versus males. And there's not been so far too much action or even a plan so far in terms of what does that pay equity look like. So when we talk about what we can do to accelerate action, I think there is that side of it in terms of where do females in the workforce stand, but then also where is the industry stand. So I'm sure you are a lot more intelligent and well aware of what's going on in terms of supply chain industry. But the key thing I'd like to focus on is that the supply chain industry is very much evolving. And it's evolving probably more than any other industry because there are so many touch points. Supply chain, as the name suggests, chain, right? But we are moving away from sort of that linear approach to more of this sort of network of different chains that are coming together, especially now with a lot more automation that can be built into our systems, a lot more AI data, Internet of Things, and all of the things that you've been hearing about, attending webinars on, or probably working with. I think really has expanded the options in terms of how it impacts the industry, but then also what can you contribute to it? So when you think about it, I think females have this ability to really see sort of the bigger picture a lot quicker. And I think it's important to leverage that, where you can see sort of those gaps, both in terms of are we using the right tools that could be used in this evolving industry, or are there other aspects of the process where we think we're using the tools but not using them efficiently? So in your roles, think about how you can contribute to those gaps or problem statements. And I think the other thing that I want to focus on is that, we've always talked about diversity and female inclusion in the workforce, but that's always been more of a focus area. And I think now it's shifting from being a focus area to more of actually a business strategy. So, and the reason why I say that is because, again, I think there's a skill set that's innate in females where there is always this ever learning attitude, like can-do attitude and desire to learn and actually pick up different skills. And I think that works very well in an industry that is constantly evolving and needs someone that can adapt to those changes. So again, I strongly encourage you to think of it from that perspective of this is a strategic change that I can impact versus I am one more female in a data count. And then also the last one being because it's a network of different chains coming together, it really is about no more no more like you do procurement, I do logistics, and I do fulfillment and so on, right? It really is everybody needs to come together and get rid of these silos. And in order to do that, I think communication, emotional intelligence are two key factors in that, which again, I think females in general have a very strong aptitude for. So we should use some of those skill sets to be able to manage what is this evolving network. And so to me, when we think about accelerate action and how we can do that, I think more so mindset over skill set. And the reason why I say that is because you can definitely learn and acquire skills, but you have to have the mindset to be able to acquire that. So it no longer is just textbooks. Of course, that's still important, but I think that can come with experience and enhance that with experience. But I think in addition to that, we have to be aware of just our current situation of where we are in the world. Being tech savvy or not, you have to at least know the tools that will get you to be operationally efficient and get you within budget. Given I think every industry right now is cutting down on budgets and really looking for a faster throughput, you really have to figure out what are those tools that can get you that efficiency and also the visibility to that performance data quicker. And then secondly, I think it's about making sure that you are constantly evolving on yourself. So whether that is looking for networking opportunities, discussions like the one we're having today, or it is certifications, there is many opportunities out there that doesn't necessarily involve formal education, but definitely ways of fitting around your schedules based on where you are in terms of your professional development and also just in family life. I think there's ways to engage different people and build your own community and network. And when I say build your community and network, I mean top and bottom. So make sure that you are having conversations that cross these different generations. There is insight and wisdom to be had in terms of lessons learned by those that have gone through the experience, but there's also insights to be had with individuals that may not even be from your industry and have a new, fresh perspective, especially when it comes to certain tools that you can use or certain system automations that you can bring to the table. So again, you can acquire these new skills through conversations, through participation and engagement. So please make sure that you keep that in mind, that as of right now, that actually is a shortage. And so if you combine that perspective with the one that I mentioned earlier about really thinking about yourselves as how can I impact the strategy of the business, being a female and the skill sets I can bring to the table, I think that will make sure that you have a very powerful impact wherever you are in your career. And what I'd like to highlight is that as you go through that in terms of your professional and personal development, is to make sure that you are supporting each other and, giving each other the high fives or whatever way it is that you want to make sure that you are highlighting each other's wins. Because the more you do that, I think the more attention it brings and the more, again, lessons learned that you can communicate amongst each other's, because what you're probably having as a problem statement, well, probably someone else has as well. And so here is one that me and my team just went through over the last few weeks, and a lot of late nights, but I'm just bringing up something that I think maybe some of you may be able to relate to as well. So I'm, like I usually mentioned, I'm a director of SaaS and new product development in the AI and SaaS space. So we are just launched a new product in the radiation therapy medical device world in Q3, and as we all know, Q4 for any organization is very critical in terms of how we finish and the revenue projections. And so our leadership team had very aggressive sales and installation projections out there, to the point where, it's kind of, okay, there's no way we're going to get there. It's impossible. But what we decided to do was make sure that supply chain team was very much not just behind the scenes, but in those active conversations. So I made sure that our supply chain logistics, procurement, order fulfillment team members, as well as schedulers, installation individuals, and warehouse individuals were all part of these discussions, where we were planning for, there is 12 weeks in Q4. In that, what do we need to do in lineup to prepare for that? And again, leadership may not have that conversation with supply chain on a daily basis, but I will. And in doing so, I want to make sure I bring that visibility of the hard work that they're doing to coordinate all of these different networks together to make sure that our projections are met. And we did that not through just the coordination and the conversations of breaking down the silos that might have been there, because we are in different countries, we are in different, phases, different priorities, even because we have mixed business lines. But we had this ability to make sure we could see the end-to-end process. There was certainly cross coordination, but we also used a lot of active forecasting tools, and also made sure that we were able to address any regulatory hurdles. We also looked at different ways of quickly documenting BOM structures that would have taken probably weeks, but we use ChatGPT and other AI formats, which are not 100% accurate, but at least to get us faster into there. We also used Internet of Things and blockchain to make sure that we had our supply chain lined up with a shorter lead time. So using some of these tools along with the cross coordination, within 2 weeks, we were able to actually have the entire Q4 projected out for our leadership team. And we're a week in, and so far so good. So I say this as an example because I'm sure we have all had scenarios in our workforce or in our academic scenario where we have deadlines to meet, and sometimes these deadlines are what we think very far-reaching and impossible, but sometimes through cross-coordination and communication, I think we can get there through different ideas and collaboration. So I leave you with that as hopefully an experience that you can relate to and build your confidence in. But again, I just want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I'm looking forward to hearing the panel discussion coming up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shilpa ma'am, for your inspiring words. I think we all are inspired by your presentation. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. So moving on to our much anticipated panel discussion on empowering women in supply chain and procurement, I am delighted to introduce our moderator for the session, Captain Ria. Captain Ria is a seasoned procurement and supply chain leader with 21 years of experience spanning solution design, pre-sales, and digital transformation. As the head of solution design for sourcing and procurement services at Infosys BPM, she specialized in crafting innovation, AI-driven procurement solution that enhances cost efficiency, compliances, and sustainability of global clients. A former Indian Army captain, Ria managed complex logistics and supply chain operations, owning her experience in risk management and operation execution. Beyond her corporate role, she is also a food stylist, having reached the top 14 MasterChef India and being a EMS for the first Miss Sikh India pageant. Her journey from the army to corporate leadership exemplifies resilience, adaptability, and excellence. Over to you, Ria, ma'am.
Thank you, Ayushi, for that incredibly generous introduction, and I truly appreciate that. I'm facing some tech issues, so I've logged in through my phone. So please, bear with some bit of humbleness that I am having today, this morning. But nevertheless, I think it's a beautiful day, and I want to wish you all, wherever you're joining from, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. A very warm welcome. It's my absolute privilege to welcome you to today's panel on empowering women to drive the future of supply chains. We've had an incredible panel lined up, and I'm excited to dive into meaningful conversations on this very important topic. But before that, I also want to wish you all accomplished and talented women in the audience, who joined today, a very happy Women's Day. So while I think all day are Women's Day, so I don't really see that has to be one specific day for women. But today is a very good day to discuss this key topic. I think Shilpa brought in some very interesting points, starting from the Gartner annual survey, where we are looking at, I think in 2023, 41% of the women were representing the supply chain workforce. And of course, we spoke about the momentum slowdown in 2024, which could have been, led by certain dynamics that happened in the market during this time, right from, the repercussions or the post feelers that we have from COVID, or, the conflict that we have been seeing, in the Europe region. So some of these things could have contributed to that. But I think what I absolutely liked about that discussion was, the need to, or the imperative to actually grow as individuals, to grow as professionals in the supply chain area. And how do we do that? By being relevant, by being aware of what is happening in the market today, being aware of, what are the innovations in this industry. So supply chains today are no longer just about managing warehouses, logistics, and procurement, while these are still very important. But the way that we do things has changed. Right? They're about AI, automation, sustainability, resilience, and the future demands, these diverse skills. And women have always played a critical role, and yet we face some barriers, right? So today we'll discuss on these aspects, and I would also like to, draw upon some very deep personal experiences of our panelists. And as we reflect on the future of supply chains, the evolving digital and Gen AI landscapes, and what are the skills that are critical, that women need to build. And I think this, this conversation resonates very deeply with me as well. Maybe, Ayushi, you can take this. Okay, I think we have to still introduce the participants, so that's where you have the slides on. So I have I think a very personal connect to this. My journey into supply chain wasn't a traditional corporate path, right? I started my career with the armed forces, where I was leading large-scale logistics and warehousing operations. Now, if one thing I've learned in the army is that supply chains are the backbone of everything, right? Whether it's ensuring troops, having the right supplies of critical stores. When the army marches into the battle, they need to have, not just their arms and ammunitions, but there is a huge amount of infrastructure that goes behind things. So whether it's ensuring, troops, whether it's looking at large-scale movements which are under immense pressure, I think the three things which stand out, which I think I can also relate to the corporate world when I stepped in, was that there is a precision, there is a resilience, and there is an adaptability involved in supply chains. And when I transitioned into the corporate world back in 2012, I noticed something very striking. So in Army, if you look at logistics, supply chain, demand management, problem solving, and the ability to be able to manage high pressure, complex environments. These traits are inherent to women, and yet in the business world, I saw when I joined fewer women in leadership roles. And over the years, what I've seen is that women have been breaking this barrier. And that's where, I think today I have with me 4 very exceptional women who have been transforming supply chains in their own ways. So without further ado, let me introduce our panelists. I have the absolute pleasure of introducing our panelist number 1, Megha Singh. She's the Director, Procurement and Transformation for Micron Technology. She has more than 17 years of experience, and she has driven global transformation initiatives across, I think, 150 countries and optimized about 2 billion of spend. During our previous interactions, I also found that she's extremely passionate about sustainability, about women, being mentoring women. And I think those are, some of the things that she brings to the table. So welcome, Megha, and we look forward to hearing more from you in a bit. The second panelist that we have is Ms. Meenakshi Natarajan. Yeah. So she's the Global Product Sourcing Manager of Air Products and Chemicals. Meenakshi has 18 years of experience in supply chain functions, and she's a leader in creating sustainable and diverse supplier ecosystems. So, we would like to also kind of dig deeper with her in terms of some of the skills, that she has developed over the years to be able to manage such an important role, right? Next, we have Priya Malhotra. Priya is a distinguished hospitality professional with 2 decades of experience in procurement and supply chain. Currently, she is the Vice President for Procurement and Supply Chain at Stanza Living. And she has previously led procurement in office space solutions. She holds several leadership roles and is also an executive coach. A multi-award winning leader, Priya is recognized for driving procurement transformation, operational excellence, and supply chain innovation. Welcome, Priya. And last but not the least, we have Rupali Agarwal. She's a senior manager with Zero Clin Farm Private Limited. She has more than 15 years of experience in solution design, alliance management, procurement, and bid management. So somewhere I do see similarity in our roles, Rupali. And I think you have, but I think your expertise is more in the pharmaceutical and clinical research sector. Priya has developed, Rupali has developed innovative secondary research methodologies to gain deep organizational intelligence and optimize business strategies. And currently she's serving as the Senior Strategy Manager at Zero. Ladies, it's an honor to have you here. And I think without taking any more time, let's deep dive into the panel discussion. The way that we have, for the audiences, the way that we have structured today's session is across 4 segments. And each of the segments will kind of delve into one aspect, of supply chain and the women side of things. Where do women come in? What are the challenges? What are the personal journeys that have, kind of contributed to that? The second segment will cover more in terms of the skills. The third segment will, because AI and technology and digital transformation is at the center of everything today. So, that's also an important topic in itself. So that would be our third segment. And in the fourth segment, we will also talk about, what lies in future for us. So those are, the way that we will proceed. And my request would be to, hold on to your questions till the end of the session. So we have a Q&A round in which you will have the opportunity to ask questions with the participants. So I think my first segment, as I said, is breaking barriers, women in supply chain leadership. So as I was talking about my own career path, in both my careers, whether it was in the military supply chain and as a solution design expert for procurement services at Infosys, I realized that there is no room for doubt when you have to make a supply chain decision. It's not an easy task to reach when, so it's not an easy task to reach where our participants have, our panelists have reached today. So I actually wanted to check, and maybe I want to invite you, Megha, first to ask about your journey. What inspired you to pursue a career in procurement and supply chain management? And in your experience, how has the role of women in supply chain management evolved in the last decade?
Thank you. First of all, a very happy Women's Day to all the incredible women who have joined us and all the men who have joined us to encourage us. So thank you for joining us today. To answer your question, I think my journey into procurement and supply chain management was driven by a combination of, I would say, curiosity and a desire to make a tangible impact. And even now, I feel that, whatever work you do should have a tangible impact on the business. Early in my career, I was fascinated by how interconnected the world is through the supply chain and how critical procurement is in the success of any organization. And it is really fascinating to show that approximately 85% of any organization spend is governed by procurement. And I saw a huge potential in optimizing the processes, reducing costs, and ensuring that we have smooth flow of goods and services. Additionally, I learned more about procurement. I saw that there is an opportunity for innovation and efficiency in this field, which further motivated me that I would like to pursue a career in procurement. And I would say that I have been really fortunate enough to have been associated with organizations that were going through a lot of transformations in the procurement space, whether it is digital transformation, implementation of AI features, implementing to new ways of working, and that actually grew my interest in procurement, and I said that okay, this is where I would like to be. Thank you.
Fantastic, Megha. So I think I'm seeing a common thread here, because I think Shilpa also mentioned about looking at strategy, and you also talk about driving tangible impact. I think these are very closely connected, and I think I just want to kind of also check, how do you see, or what were there any kind of barriers that you've kind of faced in this journey as you took this on as a passion, and then how you have grown today?
Absolutely. I would like to share an example. Okay, when I started it, my career around 18 plus years back, there were not many women who were in the procurement domain, and procurement was supposed to be done by men, because somehow supply chain was not a sort of a career for women, because obviously you're supposed to be dealing with a lot of vendors, suppliers, and doing some of the things. And just recently I was interacting with my team, and there is this Gen Z who has joined us, and she was getting a perspective on the challenges that she faced while she was working in another organization on the differentiation that organizations do when talking to vendors. They have this barrier that they do not want to appoint women at specific roles. They do not want to have women at leadership roles, just for the reason that they think that they're not strong enough to handle some of the scenarios. And I think for me the biggest barrier in was breaking that glass ceiling, that showing them that okay. And I think that has happened as and when I got a chance to deliver on one particular project in procurement. I showed the tangible impact of saving around $200 million, and that kind of grew. Okay, and then that was a specific reason that okay, it's very important to continue to show your tangible impact, we as being women, because we are judged for a lot more other things rather than what we deliver on the table.
Okay, good. No, I think we all would resonate somewhere with what you're saying. And I think in our own journeys, we have, broken through those barriers, or kind of broken free from those sticky floors, I would say. Yeah. It's not just about, breaking I think first is, to be able to break through the first barrier, which is kind of being able to get away from the floor. So I think I would, Meenakshi, I would like to call you in here. So I think what Megha called out was her passion that got her here. Now, based on this journey, right, like Megha said, there are a lot of challenges, and a woman has to kind of break a couple of things, I would say perceptions, wrong perceptions, the judgments, to be able to, show promise. So based on your journey, Meenakshi, what are the challenges that women, faced in this field? And in your own personal journey, can you share a defining moment in your career which made you realize that this was the right field for you?
Thank you for this question. But surely I'm more than happy to share my journey with you all. It was the year 2004, and I was in the final year of my BTech Chemical Engineering course. So that time the placements were going on for this core industries. And during that time, many core industries made it a point that women were not allowed to appear for the interviews itself. They were not even allowed to write the aptitude test because they were telling like, okay, since it is a core industry and it involves a shop floor things, women are not allowed to appear for the campus placements. Those days women started, and that too particularly in the engineering field, women started facing challenges even before they enter the workforce. There was a huge discrimination, and now the situation has improved to a greater extent, and I'm happy for that. So I started my career in the metal and mining industry as a shift engineer for a smelter plant. After a year, I got transferred because of my own health reasons. So little did I know that time that supply chain is going to give me identity, define my career, but clearly it is not without a fight and challenges. I think the challenges for women in procurement are no different to any other professions. Women has long been perceived as a very emotional, weak, and procurement has been perceived as a male-dominated domain. The key challenge I faced in the procurement is working in a typically male-dominated environment. So much so that many suppliers were not comfortable in discussing or negotiating the prices, terms, and conditions with me because I am a woman. I have had situations where people have assumed males in my team, they are my boss, when it was the other way around. And to add to it, those days, the scarcity of the female leaders in procurement, it meant the lack of access to senior female mentors, who could have advocated, provided guidance, and offered mentorship. Because of lack of the sponsorship and guidance, at some point of time, I was passed over for strategic roles, though I was very much eligible for those roles. With the enhanced profiles. I was given a feedback that those roles demand extensive travels and tight deadlines, which I would not be able to manage. As being a woman, I had to take care of the family. So these are the things I experienced in my career. Okay, while the challenges are real, so is my persistence. After years of hard work, I started getting noticed and appreciation for my hard work, so much so that for any important projects or projects of strategic importance, I was given the responsibility to handle those in the first place, which were not even given to my senior male colleagues. So it is all the impact you create during the work. It matters a lot. And I also take pride and joy in mentoring the young procurement professionals, especially women. It gives a sense of fulfilling these moments. I feel that I have taken the right decision to choose procurement. Needless to say, I loved the state and the state has loved me back. Thank you, Ria.
Great, Meenakshi. I think your journey is also, been one of being resilient. I think starting from breaking the first barrier when you got into an environment which was very different, and then to be able to carve a niche for yourself. I think it speaks volumes about that. Thank you for that. In the interest of time, let me ask Priya a very similar question, because I thought maybe let's bring out some of the experiences that we've had. So Priya, how did you navigate an industry that was traditionally male dominated? Is there a personal story that you can share in terms of how you've overcome some of these barriers or biases in your career? And is there any advice that you would like to give, to our women, as also the organizations, to make it more inclusive?
So, first of all, very happy Women's Day to all the lovely women, right? This is our day. So, just celebrate your day as the way you want. So the question, yeah, there is a personal story, and it's a fantastic question that one resonate deeply with me, how I entered and thriving in procurement and supply chain industry. So for me, procurement is just not for my profession. It's my passion from my childhood. It's an integral part of who I am. from my childhood, I developed a keen interest in procurement while I accompany with my grandmother and mother goes to the market. She was a deep product analyst, evaluating quality and pricing by comparing the same product across multiple shops before negotiation for the best deal at the most cost-effective vendor. I inherited this talent from her only, and as per me, women can be the better procuremist as negotiation in her blood from childhood. So generally, men. This is a men-driven department, but for me, procurement is meant for women's only. So, yes, there is a story when I entered into the procurement in my very early days, that is 2005 and 6. I faced lots of challenges. One of the breakthrough that I'm sharing with you, there are lots of incident, but I'm sharing one with you, which has put it leadership in me. In my early career, I remember I'm stepping into a high stake negotiation room that was, I guess, for transformers, a high capacity of the transformers. There was a entire seasoned male manager was there, my senior was there. As the only woman at the table, I faced skepticism, not through direct words, but through stubble dismissal and interruption. When I spoke, there is an interruption, a reluctance to knowledge my inputs, and assumption that I was there only to take notes rather than lead the discussion. There to take a note. During that particular negotiation, a senior vendor representative is continuously directed to his responses to my male colleagues, even through I was the lead discussion maker. And then instead of getting discouraged, I took a deliberate pause, firmly reestablished my role, who I am, and started ask direct technical question to the vendor. And I let my expertise to talking, ask the right question, and challenged pricing structure with the data backed inside. By the end of that meeting, very every people who had underestimated me were now seeking my approvals on the deal terms, and that day I learned a crucial lesson: competence speak louder than bias. So this is the only way where I have started the leading the entire procurement division. Now I'm into leadership role. I can give the only advice to women for navigating male dominating industries: that own your expertise. Your knowledge and skills are your superpower. Let's lead the conversation with your skills and study only. Just study about the product, whatever you are going to buy, whichever you are doing, just study first and then go to the negotiation rooms and then speak on that particular thing. Speak up and take space. Don't
Sure, sure,
hesitate to share
sure.
your perspective, even if you are the only women in the room.
Sure, Priya. I think that's a very interesting analogy you brought in.
Yeah.
When you spoke about, being a natural trait for a woman to be able to procure. I think it's a very interesting one. Uh, I sorry I had to come in because in the interest of time, but I do want to kind of say that, it's not about a men versus women kind of a debate here, but it's more about, I think what I'm hearing is that when it comes to a woman, I think the journey is longer, and somewhere I think at each step we have to prove ourselves more. So nowhere I think I feel that it's a men versus female debate. I think it's more about to be able to recognize in that same manner, and when you are kind of bringing in the same competence on the table. So very quickly, I just wanted to also check with Rupali. Rupali, from your own journey, were there any misconceptions that you had about this field when you joined? And how do you think that organizations can create more awareness or transparency, in this regard, so that more women can join? Rupali, are you there? Are you on mute?
Yeah, I think you can hear me. Thanks,
Yeah.
Shreya. Yeah, no, indeed, I had a couple of misconceptions which I would like to share on the platform. So, one is like very early in my career, I think, particularly moving from the sales into more strategic area of contracts and procurement. I think I underestimated the sheer breadth and complexity of this supply chain management. And, I initially viewed it as a primarily transactional thing. I didn't fully grasp the strategic impact it has, on an organization overall success, especially in a very heavily regulated industry like I'm working in pharmaceuticals and clinical research. So that was yes one, and yes, as Meenakshi said, very much that there's I had this misconception that and it was there actually, that the industry is very much male dominated, and this was it would be very hard for me to grow in this. The second misconception, I think, that I used to think that SCM was all about cost cutting and efficiency. While those are definitely a crucial points, but now I understand that the importance of innovation, risk management, building a strong relationship with the suppliers and partners. I think that is very important part of SCM, and especially the alliance I'm handling. And thirdly, I think while moving into SCM from a sales background, I thought it would be difficult, but rather on the contrary, it was easier for me because sales background we learn like how to build strong relationships, how to negotiate well with people, how to understand the unspoken words. I think that was quite a good like that break my this preconceived notion of having that sales background will be difficult for me to adjust into SCM. And to answer your second part of the question, that what organizations can do so that more women can actually take executive role in SCM, is that I think first we need to provide active sponsorship for sure, not just the mentorship but the sponsorship, because what we need is champions in the leadership who will advocate for their advancement and open the doors for the key opportunities. Secondly, Ria, as you raised a very well point of unconscious bias in our previous discussion, which exists very well. We really need to take a concrete steps like blind resume reviews and diverse interview panels to break this barrier. And this should not be just a buzzword, the unconscious bias. This should be about creating a level playing field. And I think the organization should really define clear career path and invest in targeted skill development for women, particularly in the areas like financial acumen and strategic leadership. And lastly, data-driven transparency. I think that is one point I would like to touch upon, because unless we see the data, unless companies publish the data on how many women representation is there in their organization, unless and until it will not set an example in front of other organizations that we're not just talking about change but actually we are making it happen in the industry. So I think these are some of my thoughts. Over to you, Ria.
Thanks. I think, again, very interesting points that you brought in here. And interestingly, your journey has been from sales to supply chain, and mine the other way around. A supply chain person who got into the pre-sales side of thing, and by no means it was an easy feat for me. So I think I've struggled to kind of build that, that attitude. The selling attitude requires much more. I think require much more dynamics, much more aggression somewhere, I would say. But at the same time, I think there was another point that Priya brought out, right? Women are considered to be, not strong enough, or I think we women bring in a rare vulnerability, which helps teams grow, be their authentic selves. I think those are some of the things that I, personally also kind of, connect with. So I think great discussion so far, and I'm really enjoying this, but I'm also being mindful of the time. So let's move quickly to the next segment, which is talking about the skills which are needed. And I think I want to call in Megha, quickly, and maybe, take, very quick, thoughts. I want to take some very quick thoughts on. You've led several procurement transformations, right, of global nature. You've managed transitions across 150 countries, which is no mean feat. I understand that. So, what were the skills that really helped you, do this? And I think the larger question that I want to touch here is that what are the inherent traits that women bring to procurement or supply chain roles?
Sure. Thanks, Ria. And I know, you want me to keep the answer short, and I'll just focus on the second part of the question rather than what skills I had. I would actually want to try, what the skills that are needed. And I think, I would like to summarize the skill set, and I was somewhere, thinking that this question might come in. I think, women by nature, naturally, they have a lot of unique skill sets that make them fit for procurement. One good skill set is the collaboration. Okay, women often excel in building strong relationships. I think, that is very crucial for driving any supply chain or procurement activities, because you need to have a lot of cross functional team collaboration. And I think by nature, women have attention to details. Nothing can beat a woman's eye, and they have very, very strong instincts. So I think, women have that attention for details that again actually helps them in identifying the potential risks and issues way ahead of time, and ensuring that the processes run smoothly. Um, and I think, as per me, I think, women are very, very empathetic. By nature, they kind of sympathize and empathize, and they have this natural tendency and strength that women bring on the table. Understanding the needs of, say, the prospective suppliers, the business partners, the customers, and team members. They have this not natural empathy, which actually helps them in getting effective negotiation on the table and getting a lot of work done because of, just they are very strong in their empathy. And when it comes to leadership, and I know that we are actually progressing towards how women can have those skill set in developing their leadership acumen. I think women have shown remarkable capabilities in showing the leadership. Women leaders often bring a lot of balanced approach in decision making. They combine their analytical skills as well as emotional intelligence, and I think that makes them very good leaders. And I think for the development areas, women need to continue their development of leadership skills, and that is one such area for women who are actually in their mid career journey right now. I think we need to seek out mentorship very, very openly. Find out avenues where we have the mentorship opportunities. I think it's very important for them to participate in leadership programs within their organizations outside. It's very important to build their network beyond work. I think sessions like that happens, like the one then today, that relationship needs to continue, and it should not be a like one-off thing. And I think they're taking and asking for challenging projects. I think it's very, very important because that gives them an exposure on a lot of different things. And I think these are the certain skills that actually help women. And obviously innovation, they have to keep themselves abreast on what's happening in the innovation. They need to understand, okay, they need to be in the forefront of adopting what's happening outside, whether it is embracing new technology, exploring innovative solutions. I think need to be keeping yourself updated on what's happening around. It's very, very important skills to have. Thank you. Over to you, Ria.
Great. I think that's a fantastic answer, and I think very, very. I think getting a lot of good comments from the people as well. I'm trying to look through my phone. Very constructive submissions. The discussion is very helpful. Thank you, Dinchi, for that. Shilpa says, Priya, I echo your take space comment. So I think fantastic. Some of these. Thank you for pouring in these words of encouragement. Moving on, I think I want to also check with Meenakshi. I mean, we did speak about inherent traits, but there would have to be certain acquired traits as well, right? There are certain things which are inherent, and then there have to be certain things which are acquired. Now, Meenakshi, you are heading a very important position which involves a lot of interactions with suppliers, and you are at the center of developing vendor strategies. How important are negotiation and relationship management skills in this field, and how have you developed these over time? And as I said, I think please keep your answer very crisp and short. Meenakshi, are you there?
Sorry, I was on mute.
Okay.
Yeah. So negotiation is a compromise involving give and take. And negotiations are all the more in procurement as it involves both internal and external stakeholders. In procurement, typically parties discuss all this pricing, payment, delivery terms, all those stuff. And, in negotiations, we should consider the best options for both the parties to build a strong relationship that lead to long-term business. Unless and until we have the win-win situation, it will not be a sustainable solutions, and either one of the parties will break away so fast. And all the more important is that treating the suppliers as partners. It means working more closely with them. And consequently, effective supply relationship management requires a regular collaboration. We should develop the supply relationship management program, ongoing feedback, and enhanced transparency. When strategically managed, these strategic closer relationship yield so many benefits for both the organizations as well as to the suppliers. When the suppliers are managed properly, it will help us to get a good cost savings, highly customized services and solutions from the supplier. The supplier will tell us, okay, for your product, this is the best solution I can give it, and improved supplier responsiveness, and the supplier performance will be improved. And even in terms of the scarcity, the supplier will give preference to our organization and deliver the goods at the earliest. And needless to mention, it also improves the procurement data analytics. When we are dealing with a supplier for a long time, it helps us to understand their cost modeling, and accordingly we can develop our resources as well. Having a proper supplier relationship help us to accrue so many benefits in the procurement organization. And during the course of my career, I developed these skills by practicing. The first and foremost thing to have a good hold of this negotiation is like preparation. We should collect all the data before we prepare. We should understand what the product we are dealing. We should be thorough in the zero-based costing. What are all the various components? That is a part of the cost. And we will have to interact with the suppliers more frequently, understand about their shop capacity, which plays a vital role in the pricing. And we have to be open-minded and actively listen to others as well. And so these are some of the traits I followed to improve the negotiation and supply relationship skills.
Great, Meenakshi. I'm sure that the audiences here are also taking some inspiration and some notes. I think nothing comes easy, and so what I'm hearing from you is that there is a fair deal of hard work that went into developing those skills, and very, very conscious effort to do that, and not just being able to kind of learn on your own, but to actively seek feedback, to also hear from the others their viewpoint. So brilliant points brought by Meenakshi. I think we've discussed a lot on skills, although I had a few questions, but I think we've kind of covered, the things that I wanted to cover in terms of the skills from what are needed today. Maybe let's, talk about a little bit on the innovation and digital transformation side. And I mean, that's where I actually wanted to, first check with you, Priya. How can organizations support women to, I mean, we know that, the world is changing from, what it used to be. I remember, manual binnings to, I don't know, the way that we used to manage warehouses, the way, it was a very, I would say the documentation was all, through pen and paper, and it was a very difficult time. From those times, we moved to, the times of RFIDs, and, in the procurement side, especially what I'm seeing, like in my own company, what I'm seeing is that we are looking at future-ready procurement solutions now, which are driving efficiencies, high amount of effectiveness, which is like higher value, autonomous sourcing, predictive analytics. Those are some of the things that we are seeing now. If in your view, how are women, how can organizations can support women to mentor them towards their digital supply chain careers?
So, as per me, organization play a critical role for mentoring and supporting women in enter and excel in digital supply chain career by structured mentorship and sponsorship program. Established sponsorship program where women are guided and experienced by supply chain leaders. Right, and leaders should actively advocate for women's career growth by opening doors for leadership opportunity, not just advising them. Generally, people are advising them, ye kar lo, wo kar lo, but they should put some kind of mentorship program. Encourage senior leader to learn about digital trend from younger tech savvy women in the organization. Example like IBM and DHL have formal mentorship program focused on advising women in tech driven supply chain role. By training and upskilling, companies should offer hands-on training in AI, IoT, blockchain, data analytics to prepare women for high-tech roles. Sponsorship certification like APICS, CSCP, Six Sigma, AI, like ISM providing lots of certification course, providing exposure to digital procurement, automation, and smart warehousing terms like Amazon's runs, like ISM runs. There are lots of training programs, right? For visibility and leadership opportunity, encourage women to take lead on digital initiative, assign them a high impact tech project like automation implementation or sustainability tracking, create an internal networking group establish which are established for women in supply chain forum like ISM for learning and idea exchange, recognize women's, ensure women are acknowledged for their contribution in data driven supply chain transformation. Example like PepsiCo has a women supply chain network supporting career progression into a leadership role. So, make flexible workspace policy and inclusive culture by providing hybrid work and family support. Offer remote work options for women's, parental leaves, childcare support to retain talent. Ensure hiring a promotion process are based on merits, not on unconscious bias. Build a culture where women feel heard, valued, and empowered to take on a lead. Example, Unilever are doing promoting 50-50 gender balance in leadership by actively recruiting supporting women in supply chain career. So organization have actively mentor upskilling and create opportunity for women in digital supply chain space. Don't just close the gender gap, they future proof their business with diverse perspective, innovation, and alternative about women's growth. So there are lots of other things, but you have a short of time. So yes, training is main factor where women can lead, and but company should give like flexible workspace to women's. So
Okay, great, Priya. I think some fantastic points. As you said, in the interest of time, I'll move forward on that. And I think if there are any questions, we'll come back to you during the Q&A session.
all right.
Rupali, I wanted to kind of bring you in. I think what we heard from Priya was that one is from an organizational side, there are certain initiatives which could be there. The other is from the people side. Now, people side could be one, women championing women. And it's not just women, I would say even, men championing women or, vice versa. So it could be, based on merit. That is something that is there. The second thing is also to be able to kind of question your own biases which are there. And it's not just, I think, from the other side, but I think we ourselves have some deeply rooted, mindsets which also need to be shaken up a bit. So I just wanted to kind of check from you that, if you were to give an advice to the young women, and you're a young woman yourself, who are looking to build a strong career in procurement and supply chains, how do they kind of go about it? Are there any specific focus networks or organizations that you would recommend joining?
No, definitely. I think networking is very important in these days, and and definitely not in your own company where you're working, but just move out from your own department or from your own company and build connections outside. It's very very important. But yes, it's very much person specific, like how much efforts you want to give it to that particular area of your development. And but yes, I completely believe that you need to actively participate in LinkedIn groups relevant to your industry and interest, because you really will find a valuable insights and opportunities for connections. Also, as Priya mentioned, the local chapters for professional organization like ISM and PMP, that is excellent networking opportunities you find over there. There are a couple of more things like like Awesome or some other groups are there or organizations are there which focuses on advancing women's leadership and supply chain through networking, mentorship, and education program. I think this all are, but you just have to be patient, persistent, and authentic. You will create the network, but you just need to give some time, because once you create that, then it should be stronger enough that you sustain that. So you need to put a lot of time and effort into that. So that's as per my understanding. Yeah, over to you, Ria.
Thanks. I think I'm being cognizant of the time. So I think we've had some very serious discussion so far. And here's where it gets maybe a little bit interesting. And before we jump into the Q&A side of things, I have put together a couple of rapid fire questions for you, all of you. And the only catch is that you don't need to think this through and you have to just give quick answers. Okay. So I'll just call out Megha.
All
Are you
right.
there?
Don't be hard on me, Ria.
No, I'm not going to be hard on you. So, Megha, if supply chains had a dating profile, what would the biodata say?
Oh my God. Let's
Just say
network without negotiation.
fantastic. All right, Minakshi, over to you. If your supply chain skill was a superhero, which one would this be? Would it be Wonder Woman or Captain Marvel?
Captain Marvel.
Yeah, if you would have said Wonder Woman, I said, oh, I wonder where my store went. Now you're marveling at your negotiation skills, right? Fantastic, Meenakshi. Yeah, my question to you is, if your supply chain, if the supply chain nightmare was a movie, what would that be? Would it be Mission Impossible or would it be Gone in 60 Seconds?
Mission Impossible.
Yeah, the shipments get delayed and then
Yeah,
it's
yes,
difficult
yes, right.
Fantastic. Okay, Rupali, over to you. What's your go-to hype song before a big meeting? What is that song that plays in your head?
This will pass. I mean, yeah, I think it's really difficult to categorize, but yeah, so many songs, actually, weird songs come into my mind, you know. Maybe one from Dangal, like during the Kabaddi song. So yeah, that goes definitely, you know.
Okay, you mean Dangal Dangal.
Yes,
Dhaka
yes, yes,
song. Dhaka
exactly
song.
like that.
Dhaka
Yeah.
song, okay. Yeah, that's what it is. I think I hope the parts all the audiences understand. What is being spoken. So I think there is the Bollywood song about women wrestlers, and it talks about a woman being a swagger and coming in with all attitude and josh. So that is what we are talking about. Fantastic. Thank you. I think it is a great session and audience. I think I would address to you. Hope you're feeling inspired. And now we want to hear from you. If you have any questions for your panel, for the panelists, please raise your hands or type in chat. We have 10 minutes, for the Q&A round.
Hi, Ria.
Hi, I'm not able to. Can you please introduce yourself? I'm not able
Yeah,
to.
yeah. Hi, I'll introduce myself, Komal Chaudhary, and I have a 13 years of experience in procurement and supply chain. But currently, since 4 years, I'm on a break and I'm not working anywhere. I had worked with Alstom Power, GE Power, Torrent Power in the energy sector. And currently, I'm on a break. So I'm looking for a restart my career again. And my question to you is that to panel is that, see, my current situation is that I can work for a remote job only, and since long time I pursue CPSM as well. I'm trying to update myself with the latest innovation which is going on in procurement field and supply chain field, keeping myself at home only. But still, and I'm applying a lot for a remote job, but still nothing is working out. So there will be something. I mean, so can you advise me, or is there a remote job still? During the COVID time, yes, it was there, but after the COVID, uh, uh, still remote job is possible in this field, or what is your opinion?
Maybe I can, put a very quick response, and then, if anybody from the panel wants to join in,
Yeah.
we can do.
Yeah, I would like to give you advice, Komal, on that. So, procurement is not just a PO chapo wala department nowadays. So, you have to be very, very tech savvy in terms of your skill set. You have to be data analyticals. You have to have data analytical skills in you. So, you have to learn these things. in nowadays, in couple of like 2-3 months. Just upgrade your skill set with analytics, then only you can apply for good job, and you will get it soon, I'm
So
sure.
like being at home, so what can you advise me some tools where I can opt for?
So basically, ERP, SAP, or Oracle or blockchain, you can learn these things, these terms only.
So SAP ERP, I worked so many years. I worked with the GE, and so that companies, of course, they are working on SAP ERP only. Now, for AI tools, can you suggest me Chat GPT? Definitely, we are using it in our regular life as well. But other than
Chat
that,
GPT will not work in
So
that case.
may I push add
Sure.
something here?
Sure.
So I think Komal, you have a very unique case. I think you want to work in a supply chain area, but not want to go to the office. If you're looking at operations kind of role, that will require a lot of hands-on requirements. So most companies these days are flexible. My own company being very flexible in this matter, where there is a hybrid work culture. But even with that, there will have to be a certain level of office visit that you will have to do. So in your particular case, you need to see how can you develop yourself into some of those assignments where you can come across as a consultant, or you can look at areas where you can or you can branch off to another field, like if you want to kind of design some kind of a UX in this space. So there are opportunities. I think yours is a very personal situation. Maybe we can also kind of connect offline. If you could, reach out to the panel or any of us on LinkedIn, I think we'll be able to take it a little bit more deeper and, and do more justice to your question. But I think broadly, what Priya also mentioned, being updated, being able to maybe understanding of Power BI dashboards, spend analysis, these are skills which are not going away. The visualization skills, using that, creating dashboards, those are also some things which may not require a permanent presence in the office, but you may be able to do these kind of things remote. There are also certain portals which offer purely remote working. I know that even bid management roles can be completely managed for some organizations on a project basis, and there are portals, if you explore, you will be able to find those openings where you can pick up projects. And once you start establishing yourself on those portals, you will be able to kind of slowly build a niche for yourself. So the journey is not so straightforward for you, but as I said, you need to kind of look at some alternative options as well here.
Yeah, Riya, I would like point.
Yes, Meenakshi. Yes,
So,
Meenakshi.
Komal, I could notice that, most of the years you spent in this energy field. So now that sustainability is the booming thing, where all the, companies in the energy management is looking in the procurement professionals. So I suggest you do this ISO 20400 course. It is available in Udemy. And any sustainability certificates, you please acquire it. And regarding this career fair, you can try to visit the Society of Women Engineers. It's going to happen in April 12th or 13th in Bangalore. And one more career fair is also going to happen in December 2025. So you can think of it. And there is one more portal called Jobs for Her or Herki, where they offer so many hybrid opportunities or totally remote opportunities for procurement. So these things you can give a try.
Okay. Okay, Meenakshi.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Right. Thanks, Meenakshi. Thanks, Komal. And if you have any further questions, maybe you can write into ISM, or you can connect with us on LinkedIn. So
Yeah, I would prefer to connect with the LinkedIn, and I will definitely connect with all of you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
I think I'm seeing some questions on the chat as well. So Sushmita says, can you recommend any course on procurement? Because I want to pursue my career in procurement. I'm a fresher. I'm doing my MBA in logistics and supply chain. I'm 22 years old. Megha, anyone, do you want to take this question? Or Rupali?
Go ahead, Rupali.
Megha, I missed the question. Could you please go ahead?
Okay.
Sure.
So the question is, there is a question that, Sushmita is a fresher who's doing her MBA in logistics and supply chain. Is there any course that she can do in procurement because she wants to take that as a career path? Can someone work on this, or maybe I can take it up?
So there
I
are
think
yeah.
it's too early to actually decide, about the course. I think I mean, as for my recommendation, first you need to gather some experience about the domain itself, and after that you need to find out where exactly you want to go, because procurement is not just one field now, because it extends to multiple. It's not linear, right? As initially we saw in the slides as well, it's more of a networking kind of a thing, and there are, I mean, for the domain there is an entire value chain. It's not just one piece of it. So you need to really understand where your interest lies, and accordingly you need to pursue further, what particular course you want to go into. So I don't advise, I mean, course at right now, I mean, because she's already pursuing her, some MBA, right? So
MBA in
yeah,
logistics.
she should gain some practical experience from the industry, and after that she should go for the course.
I think I'd like to add that the course mostly depends on what you're, like Rupali said, whether you want to be in the upstream of procurement or downstream of procurement, whether you are good at negotiation or whether you are good at delivering operational excellence. So the course that you pursue mostly depends on what you really want in which field of procurement.
So, ma'am, I would just like to add something here. So, Shushmita, after the session, right, you will get ISM India membership, which has some few free certifications, right? So, just whenever you have time on your weekends, because I'm also a student, and trust me, ISM certificates has really helped me out. I have got a clarity. Before few years, I didn't knew about the supply chain, right? So, whenever you have time on weekends after your college, just utilize your ISM India membership. They have quite a good free courses as well. Start with them, and initially when you get idea and get hands-on experience, I think you can continue with some other big certifications.
Great. Thanks for jumping in, Ayushi. I think that's a very good insight. And, while we work together in terms of, courses for, my teams, but I also feel that, there is opportunities for people to go on their own and also explore these trainings which are there. By the way, there's a linked question on chat that, by attending this, this meeting, will there be a certification that can be given to the participants? I'm not sure about that, so I leave that for you, to respond on the chat. And so, is there any last question you want to, anybody wants to ask before I close?
I think Akhila has her hand raised since a long time, so let's give her a chance to go.
Okay, I'm not able to see that. Please proceed with your question.
Akhila, we can't hear you.
Okay, so I think maybe Akhila, you can put your question in the chat.
Can I have my question actually? Can I ask?
Sure, please go ahead.
Yeah, actually, if you assume a team of about 130 members, okay, just I'm giving a scenario here, and out of it, about 20 female employees are there, okay, and out of the 20, there are 3 to 4 persons who had discontinued their job due to some of the personal reasons, and that too in a crucial situation, okay. Obviously, those persons might quit the organization and go off, but the impact of that 4 women with respect to the other 20 members still exists in the organization, right? Because everybody have a mindset of taking a female employee there in system and giving us cases like we had a failure during our crucial situation. So how do we handle this situation?
It's a very, I think it brings up a very deeper issue, like, we've been talking about, Meena, I think that's you speaking. So I think it is a much deeper issue that you brought out, that, if 3 people are leaving or 3 women are leaving, so the general opinion that gets created is that, they are not serious about the work, and probably the next set of hiring will get impacted. So I don't think there's a very clear-cut answer to that, Meena. What I would kind of say is that, and some of the things that came up during this discussion was, one, you be able to kind of handhold each other as women, build your network, championing each other. I think when you say a team of 20, I'm sure, there are different hierarchies and levels that are operating. As managers to kind of, put the right case for the, growth of their teams. That could be one way to challenge it. Second is, I think numbers speak a lot more than judgments or perceptions. It was also spoken earlier in the day. So I think in terms of the outcomes that women are delivering, I think that's where, the discussion has to be tilted. And also to be able to call out a situation where, there is I never kind of recommend being rude or aggressive, but to be able to plainly call out, if you perceive a certain perception, and that has to be debunked by means of data, by means of performance outcomes. Those are the ways that one can go a step at a time. Of course, the organizations also have to rise up to that, so that women don't feel that. I think anytime I go to a discussion like that, I think we all kind of have similar stories. So this is something that I would say that one is from an organization standpoint, to be able to connect with HR, to share, to be able to share, some of these. I won't call it, these are not grievances, but more like unconscious biases which are prevalent, and how to debunk them. I think we need to engage a little bit more as women, and not kind of wait for things to change on their own. So take that lead, take that plunge. I think that would be important here. So I think with that, does that answer your question, Meena?
Yeah, yes, Priya. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I think, with that, we come to the end of the panel. This has been an incredible discussion, and I want to thank each one of our panelists for their time, insights, and their honest responses. I also like the very candid discussion that has taken place on this forum today, which kind of clearly calls out a need for more, for doing more. I also would like to thank ISM for organizing this Power Pact event, and especially the audiences for being a very patient listener, and also bringing out some very, very interesting questions. I think one thing I would want to say is, when what you take today is that the future of supply chains isn't just about efficiency, technology, or strategy. It is more about people. It is more about people like you and me, people, women, men, all together. The more diverse and inclusive our industry becomes, the stronger and more innovative our supply chains are going to be. So I think I would, urge you to take that lead, keep innovating and learning, and I think take that plunge. That is very, very important, right? And if there's anything that my military experience has taught me, is that when challenges rise, strong leaders, men or women, they will step up, and they will make things happen. So with that, I think I'll leave you, and I'll hand over back to Ayushi and ISM team. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for this insightful discussion, you and each one in the panelists. Thank you so much. So as we come to the end of this event, I'd like to take a moment to talk a little bit about ISM and the various opportunities that ISM offers. So ISM is committed to upskilling professionals through various certifications program and e-learning courses, and all the people who have attended, they'll get a free membership. So please explore the e-learning courses that are available. And I also encourage you to stay connected with ISM. Feel free to visit website www.ism-india.org and reach out to ISM team if you have any questions. Let's continue to build a strong network of women, men's leaders in procurement and supply chain.